Welcome to the Sleepy Geographer channel, a quiet corner where the world unfolds slowly, fact by fact, ridge by ridge. Tonight, the story waiting for you is all about the most relaxing facts of the Arctic and Antarctic, the vast white realms that exist where the world decides to grow quiet, slowly sculpting a landscape of perfect peace. Before we begin, I'd love to know where are you listening from this evening. Perhaps you're wrapped in a blanket against a chilly night, or maybe in a warm room, listening to the rain against the window. If you find comfort in these journeys, I'd be so grateful if you could gently tap the like button and subscribe. To those who are already subscribed, thank you kindly. You are the steady northern star guiding this channel forward. And a small reassurance as we venture into these lands of ice and stillness. I do hope this video helps your mind find a quiet harbour. But if these facts are so interesting they keep you awake a little longer, at least you will be drifting into tomorrow with images of serene, snow-blanketed horizons nestled in your thoughts. So, let us begin our journey to the poles of slumber. Imagine, if you will, a world simplified. A world where the complex palette of greens and browns, of city greys and electric lights has been washed away, replaced by a canvas of profound white, of soft blue shadows and the deep, dark velvet of a polar sky. This is the gift of the Arctic and Antarctic. They are places of reduction, where the visual noise of our daily lives is muted under a blanket of snow. To gaze upon them, even in a photograph, is to feel the mind's constant chatter begin to quieten. There is less to process, less to understand. Only vastness and stillness and light. The very nature of these places is one of profound rest. Think of the ice not as a mere solid, but as water that has chosen to sleep. It is the same water that flows in rivers and crashes in waves, but here it has settled into a deep, crystalline repose. It holds a memory of motion but has chosen stillness. In the heart of an iceberg, or deep within the Antarctic ice sheet, there is water that fell as snow thousands, even millions of years ago. It has been resting there in a frozen dream since before human civilizations rose. It is the most patient slumber on Earth, and then there is the silence. In the interior of Antarctica, on a calm day, the silence is so absolute it becomes a sound of its own. It is a silence you can feel. There is no hum of insects, no rustle of leaves, no distant murmur of traffic. The wind may blow, but it is a low, steady breath across a continent-sized expanse. It does not scream, it sighs. This is not an empty silence, but a full one. A silence that cradles you, that tells you nothing is required, nothing is demanded. You are free to simply be and to rest. The cycles here are not the frantic ticks of a clock, but the slow, breathing rhythm of a planet. The sun does not hurriedly rise and set. In the summer, it circles the sky in a slow, endless arc, a perpetual, gentle dawn. In the winter, it retreats, leaving the moon and the stars to watch over a landscape sleeping under the soft glow of the aurora. This is not a place of haste. It is a place where everything happens with the patience of geology, where change is measured in the gradual flow of a glacier, the slow growth of a millennia-old ice sheet. In our world, we are surrounded by the urgent, the immediate, the loud. Our attention is pulled in a dozen directions at once. But the poles offer an alternative. They are a reminder that there are still places where time moves differently, where the dominant forces are not speed and noise, but stillness and quiet. So, as we prepare to explore these facts, these little lullabies of geology and biology, I invite you to let your breathing slow, to let your body grow heavy. Picture yourself not as a visitor to these lands, but as a part of their stillness. You are a quiet observer standing on the edge of a great white expanse, feeling the cool, calm air on your skin, hearing nothing but your own heartbeat, slowing to match the rhythm of this sleeping world. This is our beginning, a welcome to the polar slumber. A journey not out into the world, but inward, toward a deep and lasting peace. So find a comfortable position, let your eyes grow soft, and allow yourself to drift toward the ice. As we drift northward in our minds, leaving the familiar contours of continents behind, we arrive at our first destination. Not a continent of rock and soil, but a world of white floating on a dark, cold sea. This is the Arctic, a place that is, at its heart, an ocean, a vast circular basin of water that has simply decided to rest, to still its waves under a shield of ice. Imagine a great, slow breath held over the top of the world. That is the Arctic Ocean. It is the smallest and shallowest of the world's oceans, almost entirely landlocked, nestled between the northern coasts of America, Europe and Asia. It is not a turbulent, open expanse, but a sheltered sea cradled by continents, which makes its stillness possible. Here, the dynamic, churning character of the sea is hushed. The waves are replaced by plains, the swells by gentle, snow-draped ridges. The ice that covers it is not a single, monolithic sheet, but a living, breathing skin. It is called sea ice, and its life is a cycle of gentle formation and slow, patient melting. In the deepening cold of the polar autumn, when the long night begins to descend, the ocean's surface starts to lose its heat to the still air above. It doesn't freeze all at once, not with a dramatic crash, but with a quiet hesitation. First, a thin, oily layer of crystals forms on the surface, known as fragile ice. It looks less like solid ice and more like a slick of grey slush whispering across the water. Then, as the cold persists, these crystals join together, creating a thin, flexible crust on the sea's surface. This is neeless ice. It is so thin that it bends with the swell of the ocean beneath it, undulating in slow, dark waves, barely reflecting the twilight sky. It makes no sound save for a soft, rustling sigh as it moves. It is the ocean's first attempt at sleep. As winter tightens its grip, the Neelers thickens. It becomes young ice, then first-year ice. It grows perhaps a meter or two in thickness, but it is never entirely still. The winds and subtle currents far below keep this frozen skin in a state of constant, slow motion. This is where the Arctic's most hypnotic feature is born. The pack ice. The sea ice cracks and breaks apart into individual floes, and these floes jostle and grind against one another with a gentle, relentless pressure. They do not smash. They nudge. They raft, sliding over one another in slow-motion collisions. They create pressure ridges, lines of broken ice blocks that trace across the landscape like the wrinkles on a bedsheet, or the slow, patient lines of thought before sleep. This is not a violent process, but a geological sigh. The sound it makes is a deep, groaning murmur, a low-frequency rumble that travels for miles through the ice and water. It is the sound of the frozen ocean adjusting its position, settling in for its long winter rest. It is the polar equivalent of the quiet creaks of old. Wooden house makes in the night a sound that speaks not of alarm, but of settled age and gradual change. And in the heart of this frozen ocean, there is a relative center of stillness, the polar ice pack. This is the ice that survives the summer melt, the older, thicker, multi-year ice. It is not the flat, featureless plain one might imagine. It is a landscape of low, snow-sculpted hills and valleys, all painted in endless shades of white and blue. The snow that falls upon it muffles all sound, creating a profound silence broken only by the wind, which here is not a howl, but a whisper, flowing over the dunes of snow like a river over stones. This is a world without fixed geography. It is a landscape that is constantly being redrawn, not by the slow hand of tectonics, but by the daily, gentle push of the wind and current. A coastline of ice that looks one way today will have shifted imperceptibly by tomorrow. It is a reminder that some of the most solid-looking things in our world are, in fact, transient. They are guests of the season, destined to eventually soften, break apart, and return to the water from which they came. But for now, in the long twilight of the polar winter, it is a realm of perfect peace, a world of white, floating on a world of dark, deep water. There are no mountains here, only the gentle swell of frozen waves. No trees, only the delicate frost feathers formed by sea smoke rising through cracks in the ice. It is a simplified, minimalist landscape where the mind has nothing to grasp but the slow drift of ice and the vast, arching dome of the sky. So, as you picture this floating world of white, let your mind settle on its slow, rhythmic movements. The gentle drift of the pack ice, the gradual growth of a crystal, the deep, resonant groan of the ice as it dreams. There is no urgency here, only the slow, patient breath of a frozen ocean, a lullaby written in ice and darkness. Let your thoughts drift with the ice flows, carried on a current of perfect calm, further and further into the peaceful heart of the Arctic night. If the Arctic is a frozen sea, a world of drifting white on dark water, then our journey south now brings us to something entirely different. A place of profound and absolute land. A continent not merely touched by ice, but a continent that is ice. This is Antarctica, the most isolated, serene, and sleeping landmass on our planet. Not a floating skin of frost, but a deep, continental slumber. Imagine a continent that is almost a perfect circle, centered neatly around the southernmost point of the Earth's axis. It is a land of sheer isolation, separated from all other continents by the most ferocious ocean on Earth, the Southern Ocean. This moat of churning water and screaming winds acts as a natural barrier, not to keep people out, but to preserve the silence within. Antarctica is not a part of any other land. It is a world unto itself, dedicated to quiet and cold. It is the continent that sleeps, and at the heart of this isolation lies its true nature: ice. Antarctica is not simply covered by an ice sheet, it is buried by it. This is not a blanket, but a glacial coffin, a mesmerizing, beautiful, and deeply peaceful one. The Antarctic ice sheet is the single largest mass of ice on Earth. It contains so much frozen water that it is almost impossible for the mind to grasp. If you were to take all the ice from the Arctic Ocean and from every mountain glacier on every other continent, it would still be but a fraction of the ice that rests here. This ice does not lie in a thin layer. It is a dome of solid, compressed snow, so immensely thick that it completely transforms the continent beneath. In some places, the ice is over 4 kilometers deep. To stand on the surface in the East Antarctic Plateau is to stand on top of a frozen structure taller than the Alps. The weight of this ice is so colossal, so unimaginably heavy, that it has pressed the very bedrock of the continent down into the Earth's mantle. The continent itself is bowed under the profound weight of its own frozen blanket, sinking gently into a deep geological repose. Beneath this ice, hidden from view for millions of years, lies a landscape of mountains and valleys, plains and deep trenches. There are entire mountain ranges like the Gamburtsev Mountains, completely entombed, their peaks never feeling the wind or seeing the sun. There are subglacial lakes, vast bodies of liquid water kept from freezing only by the pressure of the ice above and the warmth of the earth below. This is a sleeping landscape in the most literal sense. The world beneath is alive, but stilled, waiting in a dreamless sleep under a blanket of unimaginable thickness. The surface of this ice sheet is a study in minimalist beauty. It is often called a polar desert, for it receives less precipitation than the Sahara. The snow that does fall is light and dry, and it does not melt. It simply accumulates year after year, millennium after millennium. Each new layer gently compressing the ones below into a dense, glacial ice. The wind is the primary sculptor here. It sweeps across the endless plains, not with violence, but with a patient, persistent hand, carving the snow into soft, flowing shapes called sastrugi. These are not jagged ridges, but gentle, frozen waves on a white ocean, their curves aligned for miles in the direction of the prevailing wind. Walking across them is like walking on a cloud that has been gently frozen in place. The silence here is different from the Arctic. In the Arctic, the silence feels like a pause between the sounds of life and shifting ice. In the interior of Antarctica, the silence is absolute and eternal. It is a positive presence, a physical force. With no life, no flowing water, and the snow absorbing every vibration, the silence becomes a sound of its own, a soft, high-pitched ring in the ears, or the feeling of one's own heartbeat and breath being the only motions in a universe of stillness. It is the quietest place on Earth. This is the Kontinapent, a land dedicated to rest. The ice here is not a temporary visitor, but a permanent resident. The snow that falls today will, over centuries, become part of the glacial ice, trapping tiny bubbles of ancient atmosphere within it, preserving a breath of air from a time long past. Everything here moves with a slowness that transcends human understanding. The flow of the ice toward the coast is measured in centimeters per year. The growth of the ice sheet is a story written in millennia. So, as you picture this vast white continent, let its immense stillness settle upon you. Imagine the weight of that ice not as a burden, but as a gentle, constant pressure, lulling the land beneath to sleep. Imagine the silence, not as an emptiness, but as a deep, comforting hush. You are not on a floating world of ice, but on the most solid, the most peaceful, the most deeply resting continent on Earth. A land where the world has truly gone to sleep, under a blanket of stars and a sky of endless soft white. Let your mind rest upon its serene, unbroken surface and feel your own breath slowing, your own body growing heavy, matching the profound sleeping calm of Antarctica. In our world, the rhythm of day and night is a constant, reliable pulse. The sun rises, it arcs across the sky, and it sets, a daily metronome that structures our lives. But as we venture deeper into the polar realms, we find that this pulse slows and slows until it becomes a single, deep, drawn-out breath. A cycle not of hours, but of seasons. This is the gentle, hypnotic rhythm of the midnight sun and the polar night. Imagine the Earth, tilted on its axis, patiently presenting first one pole, then the other, to the sun. For the pole facing the sun, it is not a fleeting visit. The sun does not simply rise high and then depart. Instead, it approaches the horizon, seems to hesitate, and then begins to trace a slow, circular path parallel to the ground. It is a perpetual golden sunset that never fades to darkness. This is the midnight sun. There is no sudden blaze of noon, no harsh shadows. The light is constant, soft, and diffuse, as if filtered through a great celestial lampshade. The world is bathed in the colors of a never-ending dawn or dusk, rose gold, lavender, and a deep, buttery yellow. Time under this unwavering light loses its urgency. There is no night to fear, no deadline of darkness. The day simply continues. It is a long, slow exhalation of light, a day that has decided to linger, to stretch itself out like a contented cat in a warm patch of light. Life under the midnight sun is a dreamy, prolonged state of wakefulness where the boundary between one day and the next softly blurs and then vanishes entirely. The clock becomes irrelevant. The only time that matters is the slow, patient circle of the sun around the sky. But as the earth continues its graceful tilt, the same pole that was bathed in endless day now turns away, embarking on the long, quiet counterpart to the sun's vigil, the polar night. This is not a sudden, terrifying blackness. It is a gradual, gentle fading. The sun, with each passing day, takes a lower and lower arc across the horizon, until one day it does not rise above it at all. What follows is not pure darkness, but a long, beautiful twilight. For weeks the world is suspended in a deep, ethereal blue. The snow reflects the last remnants of light from a sun that is just below the curve of the earth, creating a glow that seems to come from the ice itself. This is the blue hour, stretched from minutes into months. The landscape is illuminated by a soft, silvery light, enough to see the contours of the snow, but not enough to cast a sharp shadow. It is a world of muted tones and soft edges. Then, as the Earth moves further into its seasonal orbit, even this twilight deepens. True darkness arrives, but it is a darkness unlike any other. It's not an empty void, but a velvet canvas for the stars. Without the sun for months, the sky becomes impossibly clear and profound. The Milky Way is not a faint smudge, but a brilliant, detailed river of dust and light. The moon, when it is full, reflects off the snow with such intensity that you can walk for miles without any other light, casting a soft blue shadow on the pristine white. And dancing through this star-filled darkness are the auroras, silent, shimmering curtains of green and purple, adding their own gentle, moving light to the sleeping world. The polar night is the world's long, slow inhalation, a time of rest, of introspection, of quiet. The frantic energy of summer growth is gone, replaced by a deep, crystalline stillness. For the creatures that remain, it is a time of conservation, of moving slowly, of waiting with infinite patience. There is no rush, for there is nowhere to go and nothing to do, but endure the quiet beauty of the long dream. Together, these two phenomena form the most serene and balanced cycle on the planet. 6 months of gentle, unwavering light, followed by 6 months of deep, star-filled rest. It is a rhythm that makes our 24-hour cycle seem frantic by comparison. There is no jarring transition, no sudden switch flipped, just a slow, graceful blending from one state to the other, as if the planet itself is breathing in its sleep. So, as you rest tonight, let your mind settle into this slower rhythm. Let go of the hurried ticking of the clock. Imagine yourself in a land where the day is a long, soft sigh of golden light, or where the night is a deep, comforting embrace of starlight and blue shadows. There is no need to chase the sun or fear the dark. Here, at the top and bottom of the world, both are eternal, both are peaceful, and both will patiently wait their turn. Let your own wakefulness be like the midnight sun, gentle and prolonged. And let your sleep be like the polar night, deep, restful, and cradled by stars. In the world of constant motion, there are few things that embody such a profound, silent journey as an iceberg. It is a solitary traveller, a mountain of ice adrift on a cold sea, whose entire life is a lesson in patient release and quiet transformation. Its story begins not with a birth, but with a gentle letting go. This journey starts at the edge of a great ice shelf, where a river of ice thousands of years old finally meets the ocean. This meeting is not a conflict, but a culmination. For centuries, the glacier has flowed inch by patient inch from the heart of the continent toward the coast. The ice at its front has been pressed forward, suspended between the solid land and the buoyant salt water. And then the moment arrives. With a deep, resonant groan that seems to come from the earth itself, a vast block of ice, sometimes as large as a city, simply parts ways. This is calving. It is not a shatter but a separation, a final gentle release after millennia of pressure. The newborn iceberg, now free, bobs once, then settles into the water with a soft, sighing roar, as if greeting its new, liquid world. And so, its quiet journey begins. The new iceberg is a spectacle of pure, sculptural beauty. It is a fragment of the continent itself, a piece of ancient compressed snowfall now set afloat. Its form is breathtaking. It may be a towering, flat-topped tabular berg, a floating mesa with sheer, blue-white cliffs that rise hundreds of feet from the water. Or it may be a weathered sculptural berg, carved by wind and water into arches and spires that defy gravity. But its most captivating feature is the light it holds within. This is not the white of surface snow, but a deep, celestial blue. This blue light is the soul of the old ice. Air bubbles trapped for millennia have been pressed so tightly by the weight of the ice above that they absorb all other colors of light, allowing only this profound, tranquil blue to escape. To gaze into the heart of an iceberg is to look into a frozen piece of the sky or a deep, sleeping sapphire. Once adrift, the iceberg enters a life governed by the most gentle and inexorable of forces, the ocean currents. It has no engine, no sail, no will of its own. It simply yields. It becomes a passenger on a slow, riverine highway within the sea, moving at a pace that makes the growth of glaciers seem hurried. It may travel for years, for decades, circling in the slow, cold embrace of a polar gyre. It is a silent nomad watching the seasons turn from its own, unchanging perspective. As it travels, it begins its slow return to the water from which it ultimately came. This is not a death, but a dissolution, a gentle unraveling. The sun warms its surface, and tiny rivulets of meltwater carve delicate, meandering channels across its white upper slopes. These streams trace patterns like veins on a leaf, eventually spilling over the edges in soft, whispering waterfalls. Waves lap patiently at its waterline, sculpting a concave waist, sometimes carving out sea caves that glow with an ethereal blue light. The iceberg may, in a final act of serene balance, roll over. This is a slow, majestic somersault, a reorientation that reveals a new, water-sculpted form, glistening and smooth, before it continues its patient melting. Throughout this long journey, the iceberg is a silent benefactor. As it melts, it releases its ancient, mineral-rich fresh water into the ocean, nourishing the microscopic life that forms the base of the polar food web. The gentle fizzing sound it makes is the sound of a million tiny, trapped air bubbles, each a capsule of ancient atmosphere, being released back into the modern world, a soft, popping whisper of a time long past. Its end is as quiet as its beginning. Over time, the great mountain of ice is whittled down. A small, sculpted fragment known as a bergy bit drifts alone. Then, even smaller, a growler, low to the water, melts away until it is just a pool of fresh water on the ocean's surface, barely distinguishable from the sea around it. And then is simply gone. Its journey complete, its substance returned to the cycle of water, its long, quiet dream concluded. So, as you lie in the stillness of your own room, picture this serene traveler. Imagine the colossal patience of its existence. There is no struggle in its path, only a graceful acceptance of the currents that carry it and the elements that slowly return it to the sea. Its life is one of beautiful, inevitable surrender. Let your own restless thoughts become like that iceberg. Let them carve gently from the busy mainland of your mind. Watch them drift away, not with urgency, but with a slow, untroubled pace. See them worn down, not by force, but by the gentle lapping of stillness, until they dissolve into the quiet, dark sea of sleep. There is no need to steer them. There is only the gentle current, the deep blue light, and the long, quiet journey toward peace. In the heart of the world's great mountain ranges and blanketing the polar continents, there flows a river unlike any other. It does not babble or rush. It does not carve its path with the eager energy of water, but with the profound, inexorable patience of solid stone itself. This is a glacier, a river of ice, and its movement is the Earth's most graceful and unhurried dance. Imagine a substance that is both solid and fluid. That is the paradox of a glacier. It is not a frozen static block. It is a body in motion so slow that its pace mocks our human perception of time. It flows at a speed that can be measured in centimeters a day, sometimes a year. A single rock caught in its grip may take a century to travel from its source to its end. To stand before one is to witness a landscape that is imperceptibly on the move. This great motion begins not with a push, but with a gentle, persistent accumulation. High in the mountains or across the polar plateaus, snow falls. It does not melt away with the summer sun. Instead, layer upon layer, year upon year, it piles into a deep, soft blanket. The weight of the new snow on the old begins a gentle compression. The delicate, six-pointed snowflakes, these intricate stars of ice, are slowly pressed, their points collapsing, their air squeezed out. They become small, round grains called fern, a granular, sugary snow, and with more time and more weight, these grains are pressed closer still, until the air between them is trapped in tiny, isolated bubbles, and the entire mass recrystallizes into a dense, solid, and yet still flowing river of ice. The flow itself is a thing of silent, internal grace. It happens in two ways. Deep within the ice, under the colossal pressure of its own weight, the ice crystals actually change shape. They deform, they slide past one another in an unimaginably slow plastic creep. It is not a brittle crack, but a gentle, internal yielding like honey flowing. If honey were made of stone and a single drop took 1,000 years to fall, and at its base, where the glacier meets the ground, another kind of motion can occur. The immense pressure of the ice above, combined with the gentle geothermal warmth from the earth below, can create a thin film of meltwater. This water lubricates the bedrock, allowing the entire massive river to slide along its bottom with a gentle, sustained whisper. This is basal sliding, the glacier dreaming that it can fly, if only for a millimeter at a time. The landscape bears witness to this patient power. A glacier does not violently smash its way downhill. Instead, it simply insists. As it flows, it gently scours the bedrock beneath, polishing it to a smooth, soft sheen. It plucks rocks from the valley walls, not with a sudden jolt, but with a gradual freezing and thawing that pries them loose over centuries. It carries these rocks within its heart, a hidden cargo of stone, and along its base, grinding them into a fine mineral powder called rock flour, which turns its meltwater a milky turquoise blue. The most profound evidence of its flow is the shape it leaves behind. A river of water cuts a sharp, V-shaped valley. A river of ice, with its slow, broad weight, sculpts the land into a sweeping U-shaped trough. These valleys are wide, graceful, and serene, their curves speaking not of rapid erosion, but of a slow, caressing passage that lasted for 100,000 years. Every hanging valley where a smaller glacier met a larger one is a testament to different paces of flow. Every smoothed and rounded mountain peak, a fjord in the making, tells the same story, that what is soft and patient can, given enough time, humble the hardest stone. To contemplate a glacier is to be given a lesson in a different kind of time. Our lives are a flicker in the lifespan of a single glacial advance. The ice that is melting at the glacier's foot today may have fallen as snow when the pyramids were being built. Its journey is a narrative written in millennia, each chapter longer than all of human history. So, as you seek rest, let your mind become like this slow river of ice. Let the rushing currents of your thoughts, the worries of the day, the plans for tomorrow, be gentled. Feel them slow from a turbulent stream to a deep, crystalline flow. There is no need to force progress. There is only the patient, inevitable movement forward, at a pace that feels like stillness. Imagine the weight of your concerns not as a burden, but as a gentle pressure, compressing your thoughts into something clear, solid, and serene. Feel yourself yielding, not breaking, flowing around obstacles with an unhurried grace that cannot be rushed. You are moving, but so slowly that it feels like perfect peace. You are a river of sleep, carving a deep, U-shaped valley through the landscape of the night, on a journey measured not in hours, but in the soft, dark, and restful expanse of a long, deep slumber. Let the current carry you. There is no need to swim, only to flow. In our noisy world, we often speak of silence as an absence. The absence of traffic, of voices, of the hum of electronics. But in the polar regions and in the high mountains, silence is not an absence. It is a presence, a physical, tangible thing that you can feel on your skin and in your bones. It is a silence woven from the unique and magical property of snow to drink sound from the air, creating the quietest places on our planet. To understand this, we must first consider the snowflake itself, that intricate six-pointed star, a marvel of frozen geometry. It is not a solid sheet, but a delicate lattice, a tiny architectural wonder filled with space and fragile arms. When billions upon billions of these flakes settle together, they do not pack into a solid mass like ice. They create a porous, complex matrix, a labyrinth of tiny air pockets and delicate crystal bridges. This landscape, on a microscopic scale, is the key to the great quiet. When a sound wave travels through the air, it is a vibration, a tiny rhythmic compression and expansion of the molecules around us. In a city, these waves bounce off hard surfaces, concrete, glass, steel, ricocheting and reinforcing each other, creating a cacophony of echoes. But when a sound wave encounters a fresh blanket of snow, it does not bounce. It enters. It penetrates the surface and travels into that labyrinth of air pockets. And here, the magic happens. The energy of the sound wave, its very life force, is forced to navigate this tiny, complex maze. With every turn it takes around a snow crystal, with every compression into a dead-end air pocket, the wave loses a little more of its energy. Its vibration is slowed, disrupted, and absorbed by the countless surfaces within the snow. The mechanical energy of the sound is converted into a minuscule, immeasurably small amount of heat. The sound, quite literally, is gently warmed into silence. This is why the world feels so different after a heavy snowfall. The sharp edges of noise are sanded down. The bark of a dog in the distance becomes a soft, muffled call. The sound of a car engine is dulled to a distant, sleepy purr. The crunch of your own boot is absorbed by the layer beneath, sounding close and personal, yet strangely hushed. The snow acts as a great acoustic blanket, smothering the world in a soft, quiet embrace. Now imagine this effect multiplied across the vast, uninterrupted expanses of the polar region. In the interior of Antarctica, on a calm day, the snow blanket is kilometers thick, and it stretches for thousands of miles in every direction. There are no rocks to reflect sound, no trees to rustle, no streams to babble. There is only the snow and the sky. Here, the silence achieves its purest form. In this environment, the only sounds are those you bring with yourself. The soft rustle of your own clothing becomes a prominent event. The sound of your own breathing, the steady rhythm of your heart, even the faint, high-pitched ring of your own nervous system, these become the dominant sounds in your universe. This is not an emptiness that induces anxiety, but a fullness that brings profound peace. It is a silence that asks for nothing, that demands nothing. It simply allows you to be. It is a silence so deep and so complete that it feels like a physical pressure, a gentle weight that settles on your eardrums, calming the very biology of hearing. This polar quiet is a rare and precious commodity on our planet. It is a reminder of the world as it was before the noise of industry and civilization, a world where the dominant sounds were the geological ones. The patient sigh of the wind, the deep, infrequent groan of shifting ice, the soft hiss of falling snow, sounds that are themselves so gentle they are often absorbed by the very silence they break. So, as you lie in the comfort of your room, let us imagine this silence settling around you. Picture each of your thoughts, each lingering worry of the day, as a sound wave, a sharp, echoing ping in the mind. Now picture a gentle, continuous snow beginning to fall within your consciousness. Each soft, six-pointed flake, a moment of pure peace. Watch as these flakes settle, layering upon one another, creating a soft, white blanket over the landscape of your mind. And as they settle, listen. As the noise begins to fade, the sharp pings of anxiety are the first to be absorbed, their energy dissipated in the delicate lattice. The rumbling echoes of tomorrow's tasks are muffled, softened into distant, harmless murmurs. The constant low hum of background stress is warmed into a gentle, sleeping calm. Feel that acoustic blanket settling over you. Feel it absorbing not just sound, but tension. Feel it hushing the internal dialogue, slowing the frantic pace of thought, until all that is left is the quiet, rhythmic sound of your own breath and the soft, deep, comforting presence of silence itself. You are in the quietest place on earth. There is nothing to hear. There is only rest. Let the snow of sleep blanket your mind and drift into the deep, white silence of the poles. In the heart of the Antarctic winter, when the polar night has cast its deep, blue shadow over the world and the wind screams with a cold that would freeze life in moments, there exists a remarkable testament to patience, warmth, and community. It is a living, breathing fortress against the cold, not built of stone, but of feathers and shared warmth. This is the Emperor Penguin Huddle, a slow, pulsating heart beating in the chest of the frozen world. The challenge these birds face is the most extreme on Earth. The males are tasked with incubating a single, precious egg, balanced on their feet and covered by a warm fold of skin, through months of perpetual darkness and temperatures that can plunge to 60 degrees below zero. They cannot leave to feed. They cannot build a nest. Their only strategy for survival is to come together, to become more than the sum of their parts. Their salvation is the huddle. Imagine this gathering. It begins not as a chaotic scramble, but as a slow, deliberate convergence. One by one, they waddle in from the solitude of the ice, turning their backs to the biting wind. They press together, shoulder to shoulder, chest to back, in a dense, organized throng that can contain thousands of birds. This collective is known as a turtle, for from above it resembles a single, dark, slow-moving shell upon the ice. Within the huddle, a microclimate is born. The temperature, deadly just inches away in the open air, can be as much as 50 degrees warmer within the heart of the group. The still, warm air trapped between their densely packed feathers becomes a precious resource, a shared blanket of breath and body heat. The sound here is not the howl of the wind, but the soft rustle of feathers, the occasional gentle cluck or murmur, and the steady, rhythmic sound of thousands of beings breathing as one. But the most mesmerizing aspect of the huddle is its movement. It is not static. The penguins on the windward edge bear the full, brutal force of the cold. To ensure that no single bird freezes on the outskirts, the entire huddle engages in a slow, continuous, and graceful shuffle. It is a movement of profound cooperation, a gentle, flowing dance that can last for hours. The process is one of immense patience. The birds on the cold windward side will slowly, incrementally, work their way along the flanks of the huddle, seeking a path into the more sheltered, warmer interior. Their movement is not a shove or a scramble, but a gentle, persistent press. As they move inward, they displace others, who then find themselves on the edge and begin their own slow migration along the sides to find relief. This creates a slow, clockwise or counterclockwise creep of the entire turtle. From a distance, it looks as if the entire mass is breathing. a gentle pulsing contraction and expansion. It is a living organism, its cells constantly shifting and renewing, sharing the burden of the cold equally across every member. There is no leader, no command. It is a perfect self-organizing system, governed by a simple, shared instinct: press together and keep moving slowly, always slowly. For the penguin in the very center, it is a state of deep, warm, communal rest. Sheltered from the wind, cradled by the heat of his neighbors, he can doze, conserving his energy, focusing all his being on the egg he protects. He is safe within the collective, but his time in this paradise is temporary. The slow, inexorable flow of the huddle will eventually carry him to the edge, where he will take his turn facing the storm so that another may rest. This is a cycle of profound fairness and patience. There is no rushing the process. A single complete rotation of the huddle can take hours. The pace is glacial, a slow social current of life preserving itself against the void. So as you settle in for the night, let your mind drift to this image of collective peace. Picture yourself not as an individual facing the cold alone, but as part of a great, warm, and breathing huddle. Feel the sharp, lonely winds of your thoughts being softened by the presence of a shared calm. Feel the gentle, rhythmic shuffle of your worries slowly moving from the cold edges of your mind toward the warm center, where they can be soothed and quieted. There is no struggle here, only a slow, patient, and continuous rotation. A promise that no burden is borne forever, that warmth is found in community, and that rest is a cycle shared by all. Let your breathing fall into sync with this great, peaceful pulse. In with the warmth, out with the cold. A slow, shuffling dance towards sleep. You are safe in the huddle. You are warm. You are part of a greater whole, drifting slowly under the starry Antarctic sky, cradled by the gentle, endless shuffle of feathers and peace. In the great white stillness of the Arctic, there walks a solitary king. A creature so perfectly woven into the fabric of the ice that its movement is less a traversal and more a part of the landscape itself, a slow, breathing feature of the frozen sea. This is the polar bear, and its life is a testament to the power of the solitary, patient stroll. Unlike the communal huddle of the penguins, the polar bear's existence is one of profound and majestic solitude. It is a nomad of the pack ice, a creature of immense spaces and quiet routines. Its world is one of monochrome simplicity. The white of the ice, the grey of the sky, the dark blue of the water in the leads between the flows. And in this world, its primary occupation is walking. A slow, deliberate, and silent walk that can cover thousands of kilometers in a year. There is a particular grace to its movement. It does not hurry. Each step is a considered fluid motion. Its large, broad paws, wide as dinner plates, act as natural snowshoes, distributing its immense weight so perfectly that it can walk across snow that would swallow a human. And within those paws, hidden beneath the dense fur, are rough, textured pads that grip the ice like tire treads, providing silent, sure-footed purchase. The sound of its walk, if you could stand close enough to hear it, is nothing more than the softest crunch-crunch of compressed snow. A sound so quiet, it is often lost to the gentle sigh of the wind. Its pace is a metabolic calculation. In a world where calories are scarce and conservation is key, every movement is measured, every step purposeful. There is no wasted energy. The head is held low, swinging gently from side to side with the rhythm of its walk, its dark eyes and nose constantly testing the air, reading a story in the winds that is invisible to us. It is listening too, with a hearing so acute it can detect the faint scratch of a seal's claw on the underside of the ice, far ahead. This walk is a form of meditation, a slow, persistent patrol of its frozen domain. It walks to find a breathing hole, a tiny, dark puncture in the ice where a seal might surface for air. It walks to find a ridge of pressure ice where it can gain a vantage point to survey the endless crumpled plains. It walks simply because the ice itself is moving, drifting on the ocean currents, and to stay in its preferred realm, it must walk against the slow, glacial flow of the sea. For hours, sometimes for days, it will be the only moving thing in a landscape of breathtaking scale. It becomes a dot of consciousness in a world of white. The snow muffles its footsteps. The cold air carries its scent away. It is a ghost in its own kingdom, a silent, patient presence in a silent, patient world. There is a deep peace in this solitude. It is not a loneliness, but a self-contained completeness. The bear is perfectly adapted, perfectly at home. Its thick, hollow fur traps the sunlight and its own body heat, creating a portable microclimate, a walking sanctuary of warmth. When the winds blow and the snow drifts, it may simply curl into a depression it has scooped in the snow, its back to the wind, and sleep, the snow itself piling over it like a natural quilt, further insulating it from the world outside. To watch this solitary stroll is to witness the essence of patience. The bear's life is a long, slow waiting. It will wait by a breathing hole for hours, perfectly still, a statue of ice and fur, until the moment of opportunity arrives. Its walk is an extension of this waiting, a mobile vigil. It is the embodiment of the phrase, "the journey is the destination." For the bear, the walking is the living. The searching is the being. So as you lie in the quiet of your room, let your mind take a solitary stroll with this serene giant. Let the frantic, crowded thoughts of your day disperse into the vast, white silence of the ice. Feel your own pace slowing to match its deliberate, rhythmic gait. There is no rush. There is nowhere you urgently need to be. There is only the next step, and the next, and the next. Imagine the soft crunch of snow under your own feet, the gentle swing of your gaze across a peaceful, uncluttered horizon. Your worries are not gone, but they have been walked into perspective, made small by the immense, quiet landscape. You are alone, but you are complete. You are moving, but you are at peace. Let the bear's solitary journey be a lullaby for your restless mind, a reminder that it is okay to be still within yourself. That silence can be a companion, and that the slow, patient, step-by-step rhythm of a walk can be the perfect pathway into a deep and dreamless sleep. You are walking now across the great white expanse of night, one peaceful, solitary step at a time, in the vast, slow-moving chronicles of the polar world, where time is measured in glacial advances and the lifetimes of ice. There is one small creature whose story of patience dwarfs them all. It is not a whale or a bear or a seal. It is a humble fuzzy caterpillar, the Arctic woolly bear. And its journey to become a moth is the longest and perhaps the most peaceful sleep in the entire animal kingdom. While most of its temperate cousins complete their transformation from caterpillar to moth in a matter of weeks, the Arctic woolly bear embarks on a life cycle that can stretch for 14 years. 14 years. To a human, that is a childhood. To this tiny insect, it is the entirety of its existence, a long, slow pilgrimage through time where the primary state of being is not feeding or moving, but waiting, a deep, frozen and patient sleep. Its story begins in the brief, frantic burst of the Arctic summer. For a few short weeks, the sun never sets, and the tundra explodes in a carpet of green. The caterpillar emerges from its egg and has one purpose: to eat. It must consume enough nutrients to survive not just the coming winter, but many winters to come. It moves from leaf to leaf, a small, fuzzy vessel filling its stores, a tiny clock ticking in the midnight sun. But this summer feast is but a brief prelude to the main event. As the air grows cold and the first frosts begin to silver the ground, the caterpillar begins its preparations for slumber. It does not spin a cocoon, not yet. That would be the final step, the transformation into a moth. For now, it must simply sleep. It finds a sheltered crevice beneath a rock, or burrows just into the top layer of soil and lichen. There, it curls itself into a perfect, tight little ball, its furry coat providing a small layer of insulation. And then it simply stops. Winter arrives in full force. The temperature plummets to levels that would be instantly fatal to almost any other creature. But the woolly bear has a miraculous defense. It begins to produce a natural antifreeze in its body, a cryoprotectant, like glycerol. This substance prevents the sharp, jagged crystals of ice from forming inside its cells, which would pierce and kill them. Instead, the water outside its cells freezes. The caterpillar, in essence, partially freezes solid. Its heart stops beating. Its blood ceases to flow. Its brain shows no activity. By any clinical definition we might use, the caterpillar is dead. It is a small, furry, frozen statue locked in the permafrost. It does not dream. It does not metabolize. It exists in a state of suspended animation, a biological pause button held down for 9 months of the year. This is not a single, long sleep, but a cycle of gentle freezes and thaws. During a warm autumn day or a false spring, the caterpillar might briefly thaw, become active for a few hours, and perhaps take a single, slow bite of a leaf before the cold returns and it refreezes. Each cycle is a breath, a single beat in a heart that only pulses once a year. And so, the years pass. 1, 2, 5, 10 each year. The caterpillar awakens for the fleeting Arctic summer, feeds as much as it can to build up its reserves, and then returns to its frozen crypt for another 9 months of absolute metabolic stillness. It is living a life in slow motion, a film with only a few frames played each year. Its fuzzy body becomes a time capsule, preserving the same individual consciousness, the same life, through a decade and a half of winters. Finally, after up to 14 years of this rhythmic sleep, it has stored enough energy. It has reached a size that signals the end of its long childhood. In its final summer, it does not feed. Instead, it spins its silken cocoon. Inside, it finally undergoes its metamorphosis, transforming from the patient, crawling, fuzzy worm into a small, delicate, and relatively ordinary-looking tiger moth. It emerges, mates, lays its eggs, and its long, patient life is complete. The moth lives for only a few days, a brief, fluttering epilogue to a story written in ice and time. To contemplate the life of the woolly bear caterpillar is to be humbled by a scale of patience we can scarcely comprehend. Its entire world is a cycle of activity and profound rest, where rest is the dominant state. It is a creature that has mastered the art of stillness, of yielding to the cold, of surrendering its very animation to the seasons. So, as you prepare for your own night of rest, let the story of this small, fuzzy creature be your guide. Your night of sleep is not a long time, not in the grand scheme of things, but imagine the peace of the woolly bear. Imagine the gentle, chemical sigh as it allows itself to freeze, trusting completely in the return of the sun. Let your own body mimic this deep, metabolic stillness. Feel your breathing slow, your heart rate settle into a gentle, dormant rhythm. Your thoughts do not need to stop, but like the caterpillar, they can simply be paused, preserved in the quiet of the night, to be gently revisited in the morning. There is no hurry. There is only the long, slow, patient cycle of rest. You are safe in your own cocoon of blankets, embarking on your own, much shorter, but no less peaceful winter of sleep. Let the deep, frozen patience of the woolly bear lull you into a slumber that feels timeless and deeply, profoundly still. Beneath the quiet surface of the polar seas, in the dark, cold waters where light fades into endless blue, there exists a sound that is the very opposite of silence, and yet embodies its essence perfectly. It is not a noise but a vibration, a deep, resonant, and patterned song that travels for hundreds of miles through the ocean's hidden corridors. This is the whale's lullaby, a slow, low-frequency hymn that is one of the most soothing and ancient sounds on our planet. Imagine the medium through which this sound travels. Water, not the air which scatters and absorbs sound quickly, but the dense, cold, saline water of the deep ocean. In the polar regions, this water is especially cold and layered, creating a perfect channel for sound to travel with minimal loss. A sound that in air would fade in a few kilometers can, in this deep sea channel, travel across an entire ocean basin. The sea itself becomes a vast liquid cathedral, and the whale's song is the music that fills its nave. The most famous of these singers is the humpback whale. Its song is not a random collection of groans and moans, but one of the most complex and structured acoustic displays in the animal kingdom. It is a composition made up of themes and phrases that are repeated in a specific order, a song that can last for 20 minutes or more, and then be sung again for hours on end. All the males in a population will sing the same slowly evolving song, a cultural tradition passed through the water, a shared, shifting melody for the season. But to human ears, stripped of its scientific wonder, the song is simply a profound and deeply peaceful experience. The notes are low, often at the very bottom range of human hearing, felt as much as they are heard. They are a series of deep groans, soft rumbles, high-pitched squeaks, and drawn-out moans that weave together into a mysterious looping symphony. It is a sound that seems to speak of immense age, of slow journeys across abyssal plains, of the weight of the deep, and the patience of a creature that measures its life in decades. Why do they sing? The reasons are still partly a mystery to science. It is likely a part of courtship, a way for males to assert their presence and attract a mate across the vast, dark emptiness. It is a social binding, a way to communicate across the herdless ocean. But to us, listening in from the outside, the purpose feels almost secondary. The effect is what matters. The song is a signal of life in the void, a gentle, persistent reminder that even in the deepest, darkest places there is a consciousness, and it is singing. To hear a whale's song, perhaps through the hull of a ship or on a hydrophone recording, is to be instantly transported. The frantic, high-frequency world of our daily lives is hushed by these low, resonant vibrations. The song does not demand your attention. It settles it. It pulls your mind down from the surface, down into the dark, quiet, high-pressure world where time moves slowly, and the only things that matter are the next breath and the next note in the ancient, looping melody. The whale itself is a picture of serene power while it sings. It will often suspend itself vertically in the water column, its head pointing down toward the abyss, its immense tail hanging motionless toward the sky. It is perfectly buoyant, perfectly still, save for the internal machinery that produces its song. It is a musician lost in its own performance, a solitary bard singing the history of the ocean to itself and to any who can hear. The song travels outward from the whale in slow, expanding rings of pressure waves. It moves through the cold dark, past sleeping jellyfish, past schools of silent fish, over underwater mountains and through deep, lightless valleys. It is a lullaby for the entire ocean, a rhythmic, pulsed vibration that is the heartbeat of the sea itself. For other whales, it is a message. For the rest of the ocean, it is simply a part of the ambient sound, a foundational bass note in the symphony of the deep. So, as you lie in the dark, let your mind sink below the surface. Let the noisy, chattering thoughts of the day be absorbed and quieted by the dense, dark water of your imagination. And now listen, not with your ears, but with your bones. Feel the deep, resonant groan of the whale's song, a vibration that travels through the water, through the darkness, and into you. Let each low note be a gentle pressure, pushing your worries away into the void. Let the rising and falling phrases become the rhythm of your breath. In with the high-pitched squeak and sigh. Out with the long, drawn-out, fading moan. You are suspended in the dark, peaceful sea, cradled by a sound that has travelled 100 miles to reach you. A lullaby that is older than human memory, a song of the deep, calling you to rest. Drift deeper, carried on the current of the whale's endless looping song, into the quiet heart of the ocean's night. High above the sleeping poles, in the utter silence of the near vacuum, one of the most serene and beautiful performances in the solar system unfolds. It is a dance of light without a whisper of sound. A performance for the eyes alone, felt in the soul but unheard by the ears. This is the aurora, the northern and southern lights. And to witness them is not to watch a show, but to observe a silent, flowing veil being drawn across the dome of the night. The science of the aurora is born from violence. A storm on the sun, a torrent of charged particles screamed across the void. But by the time this solar wind reaches the Earth, it is gentled by our planet's embrace. Our magnetic field catches these particles, funneling them down toward the magnetic poles like water down a drain. There they collide with the atoms and molecules of our thin, high atmosphere. And in these gentle collisions, energy is transferred, and the air itself begins to glow. But from the ground, all this physics is translated into pure, silent poetry. The aurora does not appear suddenly. It often begins as a faint, greenish smear on the northern or southern horizon, a wash of color so subtle you might doubt your own eyes. It could be mistaken for a distant searchlight, or a wisp of high cloud catching a moonlight you cannot see. Then, slowly, it gathers itself. It begins to move. This is its most hypnotic quality. It is never still. It forms into great, shimmering curtains that hang from the edge of space, their folds rippling with a slow, undulating motion. They are often a pale, luminous green, the color of a sunlit sea from a dream. But sometimes they deepen to a rose pink at their lower edges, or flare with vibrant purple. They are translucent. You can see the stars shining through them, their light twinkling behind the veil. The movement is what mesmerizes. The entire curtain may drift slowly east or west, as if a giant, gentle hand is pulling it across the sky. Within the curtain itself, rays of light align like the folds of a vast, ethereal drapery. These rays brighten and fade, pulse and shimmer, as if the veil is breathing. At its most active, the aurora may form spirals that slowly rotate, or coronas that bloom directly overhead, like the opening of a silent celestial flower, its petals made of vibrating green light. And through it all there is no sound, none. The colossal, energy-laden particles are striking the atmosphere dozens of miles above your head, but the air is too thin there to carry any sound waves down to you. The performance is utterly mute. The only sounds are those of the earth you stand on, the soft crunch of snow under your feet if you shift your weight, the gentle sigh of the wind, or the profound ringing silence of the polar night. This disconnect is part of its magic. Your eyes are filled with this incredible dynamic motion, while your ears are filled with a deep, terrestrial peace. It is a dance for a deaf audience, and in its silence it becomes even more dreamlike, more unreal. To stand beneath the aurora is to feel a profound sense of smallness and wonder, not of fear, but of inclusion. It is the earth reminding us that we are part of a larger system, connected to the sun by invisible lines of magnetic force. The dancing lights are a visualization of our planet's protective shield, a gentle, glowing manifestation of the force that keeps the harshness of space at bay. It is our guardian, and it is beautiful. The light it casts upon the snow-covered landscape is equally ethereal. It is not a bright, illuminating light like the moon's, but a soft, spectral radiance. The snow takes on a greenish or purple tint, and the shadows it casts are faint and fuzzy, as if the world itself is being seen through a colored lens. It is a light that seems to come from within the ice itself. So as you close your eyes tonight, let this silent dance be the last thing you see in your mind's eye. Picture the vast, dark dome of the sky. See the faint green glow begin to swell on the horizon. Watch as it gathers into a slow, flowing curtain, rippling with a grace that has no counterpart in our noisy world. Let the gentle, pulsing motion of the light become the rhythm of your breathing. In as the curtain brightens, out as it softly fades. There is no soundtrack to this meditation, only the silent, sweeping ballet of light against the velvet of night. Your worries are like stars behind the aurora, still present, but softened, muted, and beautiful in their new context. Allow the silent, flowing veil of the aurora to draw itself across the screen of your mind, quieting your thoughts, soothing your spirit, and guiding you into a sleep that is as deep, as colorful, and as profoundly peaceful as the polar night itself. Drift into the dark, cradled by the soundless dance of the skies. From a distance, the sea ice appears as a barren white plain, a simple sheet of frozen water, beautiful in its austerity, but seemingly devoid of life. But if we could shrink ourselves small enough to walk between the crystals, we would discover that this is an illusion. The sea ice is not a desert. It is a forest. A dense, intricate and frozen forest teeming with life on a miniature scale. A secret garden hidden within the ice itself. This hidden world is made possible by a simple property of salt water. When the ocean freezes, it rejects much of its salt. This salt becomes concentrated into a cold, dense, and super salty brine. This brine cannot freeze, and so it is forced through the microscopic spaces between the freshwater ice crystals. It forms a complex, interconnected network of tunnels and channels, a labyrinthine city woven through the frozen matrix. This is the brine channel system, the hidden vasculature of the sea ice. In the heart of winter, this network is a place of extreme conditions. The brine remains liquid, but it is profoundly cold, and its salinity is so high that it would be lethal to most creatures. It is a silent, supercooled world, where life exists on the very edge of what is possible. And yet life not only exists here, it thrives. The primary inhabitants of this frozen forest are the diatoms. These are microscopic, single-celled algae, each encased in a beautiful, glass-like shell of silica. Their shapes are miniature works of art, tiny pills, elongated rods, and intricate stars, each species a unique sculpture. In the perpetual darkness of the winter ice, they lie dormant, waiting. But when the sun returns in the spring, even filtered through meters of ice and snow, they awaken. Trapped within the brine channels, these trillions of diatoms begin to photosynthesize. They turn the dim greenish light that penetrates the ice into energy, and in doing so, they transform the entire frozen structure. The brine channels, once clear, become stained a deep, rich, golden brown. From the surface, this is invisible, but if you were to lift a core of sea ice, its underside would glow with the color of life, like a slice of frozen honey. This dense concentration of diatoms forms the base of a hidden food web. Tiny, microscopic grazers, species of ciliates and crustaceans like copepods, drift through the brine channels, browsing on this forest of glass-walled plants. They are the deer and the rabbits of this frozen woodland. In turn, they are hunted by slightly larger predatory single-celled organisms, the lions and wolves of the microscopic world. It is an entire self-contained ecosystem, a complete world of hunters and the hunted, of growth and decay, all taking place within the spaces between ice crystals. The environment within this forest is constantly shifting. As temperatures fall, the freshwater ice grows, squeezing the brine channels, making them narrower and saltier. The inhabitants must endure this increasing pressure and salinity, pulling their water inside their cells to avoid being desiccated. When temperatures rise, the ice melts slightly, the channels widen and freshen, and the forest blooms with renewed activity. It is a world that breathes with the temperature, expanding and contracting in a slow, seasonal rhythm. To contemplate this frozen forest is to be reminded that life is tenacious and ubiquitous. It finds a way in the most unexpected places. It creates bustling cities in the heart of solid ice. It builds a vibrant green world within a landscape of absolute white. The entire colossal ecosystem of the polar oceans, from the swarms of krill to the great baleen whales, ultimately depends on the immense, concentrated pulse of life that begins each spring in this hidden, labyrinthine world. So as you lie in the quiet darkness, let your mind wander into this secret frozen forest. Picture yourself tiny and silent, walking through a corridor of glowing blue ice. The walls are not smooth but crystalline, a mosaic of 1,000,000 interlocking facets. All around you the brine flows like sap through the veins of a tree, and within it countless tiny, jewel-like organisms drift and turn, their slow, patient dance the very engine of polar life. There is no wind here, only a profound crystalline stillness. The only sound is the faint, high-pitched ring of the ice itself, a quiet vibration. This is a world of miniature grandeur, of hidden complexity beneath a surface of simple peace. Let your own mind become like this sea ice. On the surface, let there be a calm, unbroken white plain of stillness. But beneath that surface, acknowledge the gentle, slow and vital processes of rest and renewal taking place. Your thoughts are not gone. They are simply resting in their own channels, waiting for the gentle thaw of morning. You are not empty. You are full of a quiet, hidden life, restoring itself in the dark. Drift into this frozen forest and find peace in its hidden, thriving, silent world. Beneath the most still and silent place on Earth, buried under nearly 4 kilometers of solid ice, lies a secret. A world completely severed from our own, untouched by sun, wind, or the turning of the seasons for millions of years. This is not a metaphor, but a place.
Lake Vostok.
A vast subglacial body of fresh water, sleeping in perfect darkness and isolation, a perfect capsule of deep time. Imagine the weight, the pressure of 3,700 meters of ice compressing the continent below. This ice is not a static blanket. It is a dynamic, flowing river, albeit one that moves with the patience of continents. At its base, where the ice meets the bedrock, a remarkable thing occurs. The immense pressure, combined with the faint, gentle geothermal warmth rising from the Earth's interior, is just enough to melt the bottommost layer. Not in a flood, but in a slow, persistent weep. Over millennia, this meltwater gathered in a vast bedrock basin, sealed off from the world above by a ceiling of ice. And so Lake Vostok was born. Its dimensions are staggering. It is one of the largest lakes in the world by volume, a dark, liquid expanse stretching for 250 kilometers. Its waters, as deep as the ice above, is thick. It has its own tides, minutely responding to the gravitational pull of the moon through the colossal weight of the ice sheet. It has its own mountain ranges and valleys on its floor, an entire hidden landscape that has never felt a breeze or seen a ray of light. The water within is supersaturated with oxygen, trapped there from the air bubbles in the ancient ice that melted to form it, creating an environment unlike any other surface lake on Earth. The most profound quality of Lake Vostok, however, is its silence and its age. Scientists believe it has been isolated for at least 15 million years.
Perhaps as long as 25 million.
To put that in perspective, when Lake Vostok first sealed itself away, the ancestors of humanity were small, shrew-like creatures scurrying at the feet of dinosaurs. The Himalayas were still rising. It is a relic from a different geological epoch, a sleeping world that has known no dawn, no sunset, and no change, while continents drifted and ice ages came and went above its head. The water in the lake is not stagnant, but moves in a slow, gentle convection. The water that melts from the ice ceiling, being fresher and lighter, might rise. The water that touches the rocky bottom, mineral-rich and slightly warmer, might circulate. This creates a slow thermal current, a lazy, million-year-old circulation that distributes nutrients and warmth. It is the lake's slow, sleeping breath, and then there is the question of life. Could anything live in such a place? In perpetual darkness, under immense pressure, with no connection to the photosynthetic world? The possibility is one of the most tantalizing in science. If life exists there, it would be a life of profound patience, surviving on chemical energy from the rocks, or on the scant organic material trapped in the ice eons ago. It would be an ecosystem that evolved in total isolation, a biological snapshot of a time long before humans walked the earth. To discover life in Lake Vostok would not just be finding new organisms, it would be like opening a time capsule and finding a living, breathing message from a lost world. The lake itself is a symbol of ultimate rest. It is a world that has been sleeping through the entire narrative of human evolution. It knows nothing of our triumphs or our failures. It is unaware of cities, of art, of war, or of love. Its reality is the slow groan of the ice above, the gentle heat from the planet's heart below, and the profound, eternal darkness in between. It is the Earth's most secret and serene dream. So, as you settle into the depths of your own night, let your mind drift down to this hidden lake. Feel the weight of the day, of the week, of all your concerns, becoming like the insulating ice sheet above you, protecting you from the world, sealing you in a space of perfect quiet. Imagine yourself suspended in the dark, still waters of this ancient lake. There is nothing to see. There is nothing to hear. There is only the gentle, slow, almost imperceptible current of your own breathing. Your thoughts are not gone, but they are stilled, preserved in the deep time of sleep, waiting for the dawn to gently release them. You are in a place untouched by time, a sanctuary of silence that has endured for millions of years. Let the profound isolation of Lake Vostok cradle you. There are no demands here.
No expectations.
Only the deep, dark and peaceful sleep of a world that has forgotten the sun, and in that forgetting has found a perfect, eternal peace. Descend into these hidden depths and rest. In the endless frozen skin of the Arctic Ocean, life depends on a simple, vital act, a breath. For the seals that live beneath the ice, the world above is a solid ceiling, a barrier between them and the air they need. Their survival hinges on maintaining tiny, personal gateways to the sky. These are their breathing holes, and the seal's relationship with its hole is a story of perfect rhythm, of patient, clockwork return, and of faith in a single, dark circle of open water. Imagine the world of the ringed seal, the most ice-adapted of its kind. As the sea freezes in the autumn, it uses the sharp claws on its front flippers to scratch and abrade the ice from below, tirelessly working to keep a small puncture open. It is a race against the cold, a constant, gentle maintenance of a lifeline. Over time, the hole may become domed as snow drifts over it, creating a small, hidden lair, a pocket of air between the water and the snow. A private sanctuary known as an igloo. Beneath the ice, the seal is a creature of the dark, liquid world. It hunts for fish and crustaceans in the gloom, diving for long minutes at a time. But it cannot stay below forever. Its life is a pendulum, swinging between the freedom of the underwater hunt and the necessary anchor of its breathing hole. And so it follows a rhythm as old as the ice itself, a rhythm of departure and return. The seal will dive, its sleek body propelling it through the cold, dark water. It may travel a distance, but its navigation is impeccable. It knows the location of its hole with an unerring sense, a mental map of the featureless underside of the ice. After a period of time, 5 minutes, 10, sometimes 20, the need for air begins to build, and with it, a deep, instinctual pull guides it back. Its return is not a frantic rush. It is a calm, deliberate ascent. It glides upward, its large, dark eyes scanning the underside of the ice until it finds the familiar, dark disk. It rises and its head breaks the surface with barely a ripple. There is a soft, sighing exhalation, followed by a deeper, fuller inhalation. The sound is a gentle, misty puff, the only sign of life in the vast, white silence. It may rest there for a moment, its nostrils flaring, listening to the world above before it fills its lungs and sinks back into the depths. Continuing its slow, sub-ice patrol, this cycle repeats, hour after hour, day after day, throughout the long polar winter. It is a life of profound routine. The breathing hole is the seal's heartbeat. The dive is the space between beats. The return and the breath are the pulse itself, a steady, metronomic rhythm that marks the passage of time under the ice. For the seal, the hole is more than just a breathing place. It is a place of safety. It is a quick escape from predators like the polar bear, a known refuge in an otherwise impenetrable world. It is a fixed point in a liquid universe, a celestial body in the seal's personal cosmos around which its entire life orbits. To us, observing from above, this cycle is a lesson in patience and trust. The seal does not worry that its hole will be gone. It maintains it, and it trusts in its own ability to return. It does not rush its dive in a panic, nor does it linger at the surface in anxiety. It moves with the calm assurance of a creature that knows its place in the rhythm of things. Its world is one of predictable cycles, the cycle of the breath, the cycle of the dive, the cycle of the seasons. So, as you prepare for sleep, let your mind settle into this gentle, clockwork rhythm. Let your own breathing become the seal's breath. Feel the slow, deep inhalation at the breathing hole, a gathering of calm. Feel the slow, controlled exhalation as you sink into the depths of sleep, a release of the day. Imagine your consciousness as the seal, moving through the dark, quiet waters of the night. There is no need to struggle or search. You have your own breathing hole, your own anchor point in the vastness of sleep. You know you can always return to it, to the rhythm of your breath, to find calm and sustenance. The worries of the day are like the dark water below the ice, present but navigable. You move through them with a quiet purpose, knowing that at regular intervals you will always return to the surface, to that single, calm, circular point of peace, to take a breath and then to dive again, deeper into rest. Let the patient, clockwork pulse of the seal's journey be your guide into the night.
In and out.
Dive and return, a steady, reliable rhythm that has continued for millennia beneath the ice. And now continues within you. Drift down and then rise gently, again and again, on the tide of your own breath, until you are sleeping as soundly and peacefully as the seal in its dark, liquid world. As we walk through the world, we are surrounded by the urgent green of growth. Grass that shoots up after a rain, leaves that unfurl in a matter of days, flowers that bloom and wither in a single season. But there is another kind of plant life, one that operates on a different time scale entirely, a time scale of stone and ice. On the Arctic tundra and on windswept ridges everywhere live the lichens. And their story is not one of speed, but of a profound, almost unimaginable slowness. A lichen is not a single organism, but a peaceful collaboration. It is a partnership between a fungus and an alga, living together so completely that they form a new, unique being. The fungus provides the structure, the shelter, the home. The alga, hidden within, provides the food through photosynthesis. It is a perfect, self-contained symbiosis, a quiet agreement for mutual survival that allows them to live where almost nothing else can. And their growth reflects this deep, cooperative patience. Many tundra lichens grow less than a millimeter each year. A single centimeter of growth can represent a decade of patient existence. There are lichens alive today, crusted onto Arctic rocks that were already centuries old when the first explorers set foot on their continent. They are living archives, their very bodies a record of clear, cold air and slow, unhurried time. To look at them is to see a landscape in miniature. The crustose lichens are mere films of colour painted onto the rock itself, as if the stone has slowly decided to change its hue. The folio's lichens lift at the edges like tiny, wrinkled leaves, forming a miniature forest for mites and springtails to traverse. And the fruticose lichens stand upright in tiny, branching forms, the iconic reindeer lichen carpets the ground in what looks like a grove of Lilliputian trees, a forest you could cover with your hand. Their survival strategies are lessons in stillness. They have no roots. They absorb water and nutrients directly from the air and the rain. When the tundra is dry and frozen, they simply shut down. They enter a state of suspended animation, becoming so brittle they crumble to the touch. They can wait in this dormant state for years if necessary. But when a fog rolls in or a brief summer rain dampens them, they soften and awaken within minutes, resuming their slow, photosynthetic work. Their life is a long, patient waiting for the briefest moments of activity. This slow pace is a defense, a strategy. In a world where nutrients are scarce and the growing season is brutally short, there is no advantage in rushing. Rapid growth requires energy and resources that the tundra does not provide. So the lichens have perfected the art of the minimal. They ask for almost nothing, and in return, they are granted a near eternity. A reindeer lichen mat that a caribou walks over in a single step may be older than the oldest tree in a temperate forest. They are the foundational carpet of the polar realms. They break down the rock, slowly, patiently, with mild acids, creating the first particles of soil. They are the winter food for caribou, who use their hooves to break through the snow to reach this ancient, slow-growing sustenance. To eat a lichen is to consume time itself. But more than their ecological role, they stand as silent sentinels of patience. They are a living reminder that not everything in nature is a race, that there is a place for existence that is measured not in seasons but in centuries. They are the antithesis of haste. In a world obsessed with speed, they are a monument to slowness. They do not strive, they simply are. They persist. So as you lie in the quiet of the night, let your mind settle upon the image of these ancient, slow-growing beings. Picture a single grey-green lichen crusted onto a dark polar stone. It has been there for 100 years.
It will be there for 100 more.
The storms have howled over it. The snow has buried it. The midnight sun has baked it. And through it all, it has simply persisted, growing so slowly that its movement is a secret between it and the stone. Let your own breath become as slow and measured as the growth of a lichen. Let your heartbeat settle into a rhythm that is not of minutes, but of seasons. Feel the frantic energy of the day dissipate, replaced by a deep geological calm. Your thoughts are not flying now. They are settling like fine dust on an ancient rock, becoming part of a long, slow story. There is no need to grow tonight.
No need to achieve or to change.
Your only task is to be, to rest, to persist in the quiet darkness as the lichen persists on its stone. You are part of a slower time now, a time of patient collaboration between your body and sleep, a symbiosis of rest. Let the world hurry on without you. You are growing a millimeter in a year. You are centuries old. You are at peace. Beneath the wind-swept surface of the world's great ice sheets and glaciers, hidden from the sun and the storm, lies a realm of absolute serenity and breathtaking beauty.
This is the world within the ice itself.
A crystal cathedral sculpted not by human hands, but by the gentle, patient work of meltwater and air. To step inside an ice cavern is to leave the world of white and enter a world of pure, transcendent blue. The entrance to this sanctuary is often a simple, arched mouth in the side of a glacier, a dark portal that seems to breathe out a cool, still air. As you pass through, the world outside vanishes, its sounds muffled by the immense thickness of the ice. The light changes instantly. The blinding white of the sunlit snow is filtered, absorbed, and transformed. The ice itself becomes the source of illumination. This is the magic of the blue ice. Ice is a dense, crystalline solid, and it absorbs light differently than water or air. The red and yellow wavelengths of the spectrum are swallowed up, absorbed by the ice molecules over just a short distance. But the blue light, with its shorter wavelength, has the ability to travel deeper. It penetrates the ice and is scattered back out, filling the cavern with a cool, sapphire glow. This is not a light that shines on the walls. It is a light that emanates from the walls themselves. The entire cavern is lit from within, like a great, frozen lantern. Inside, the architecture is one of sublime, natural artistry. The ceilings and walls are not angular, but flowing, sculpted by water and air into soft, parabolic curves and arches. They look like the frozen waves of a subterranean sea, or the billowing folds of a colossal blue silk curtain. From the ceiling, stalactites of ice, called icicles, hang like the pipes of a great silent organ. From the floor, corresponding stalagmites rise to meet them, their forms smoothed by the slow drip of meltwater. The sound in this cathedral is one of pure,
Resonant silence, punctuated by the occasional
musical note of water. A single droplet, formed over hours from the slow melt of the ceiling, gathers its weight and finally lets go. It falls through the blue-hued air and lands with a perfect plink in a small, dark pool. The sound is clean, sharp, and hangs in the air for a moment before fading into the profound quiet. It is a metronome marking the passage of geological time, each drop a minute hand in a clock that measures centuries. The air is perfectly still and cold, but not with the biting cold of the wind outside. It is a soft, enveloping cold, the cold of deep earth and deep time. There is no dust here, no pollen, no scent, but the clean, metallic smell of ancient, pure water. To breathe it is to feel your lungs fill with a clarity that seems to still the very blood in your veins. These cathedrals are not permanent. They are transient masterpieces. They are formed by the flow of meltwater in the summer, which carves out these chambers and tunnels like an artist sculpting clay. They can shift, collapse, or vanish entirely as the glacier slowly, inexorably moves downhill. This knowledge of their impermanence makes their serene beauty all the more precious. They are a reminder that even the most solid and eternal-looking structures are in a state of constant, slow change. They are dreams carved in ice, beautiful precisely because they will not last. To stand in the heart of an ice cavern is to experience a feeling of deep reverence. It is a naturally sacred space, a place that demands hushed tones and quiet contemplation. The scale, the light, the silence, all of it conspires to shrink the self and expand the spirit. It is a place to feel small, not in a frightening way, but in a comforting one.
as if you have been allowed entry into a secret.
Sleeping heart of the world, so as you close your eyes tonight, let your mind construct its own crystal cathedral. Picture the entrance, a soft arch of blue light in the darkness of your mind. Step inside, feel the outside world fall away, its noises muffled into nothingness. Look around at the walls of your own sanctuary. glowing with a soft internal blue light. See the gentle curves, the hanging icicles, the serene pools of dark water. Listen to the silence, a deep, resonant quiet that fills you, broken only by the occasional peaceful plink of a single, pure water drop. This is your inner sanctum of sleep, a place of perfect peace, of breathtaking beauty, and of profound stillness. Let the blue light soothe your eyes.
Let the silence calm your mind.
Let the gentle, rhythmic drip of water lull your thoughts into a deep, crystalline repose. You are safe here, in the heart of the ice, in the cathedral of your own rest. Drift deeper into the blue and sleep. In a world of migrations, of hurried journeys and frantic seasonal races, there is one traveler whose journey stands apart, not for its speed, but for its serene and sun-drenched pace. This is the Arctic tern, a creature of delicate appearance and unimaginable endurance, whose life is a single, continuous, and unhurried flight from one end of the earth to the other, and back again. It is a pilgrim of the light, following the sun on its slow annual pilgrimage. The statistics are staggering. The Arctic tern undertakes the longest migration of any animal on Earth. In its lifetime, which can span over 30 years, it may fly a distance equivalent to travelling to the moon and back. Each year, it flies from its breeding grounds in the high Arctic, all the way to the Antarctic coast, and then back again, a round trip of nearly 70,000 kilometres. But to imagine this as a frantic, non-stop sprint is to misunderstand the tern's philosophy of travel. The tern does not rush. It is a creature of the endless summer. It times its journey to arrive in the Arctic as the midnight sun is establishing its reign, and it departs as the days begin to shorten, only to arrive in the Antarctic in time for its summer of perpetual daylight. This bird lives its life in a near-constant state of gentle, golden hour light. It is the ultimate sunbather, a creature that has chosen to outfly the night, trading darkness for a life spent in the soft, glancing light of the polar sun. Its flight is the embodiment of efficient grace. It does not fight the air, it converses with it. The tern uses the prevailing wind systems of the globe, riding them like invisible highways. It will often take a meandering S-shaped path across the Atlantic, allowing the winds to carry it, adding distance but conserving energy. Its wing beats are rhythmic and steady, its body a sleek, aerodynamic dart. It feeds on the wing, dipping down to pluck small fish and crustaceans from the water's surface without ever fully landing. It can sleep while gliding on updrafts over the sea, one half of its brain resting, while the other remains navigationally aware. Its journey is not a trial, but a state of being. Imagine the perspective of this bird. For months on end, its world is a panorama of sky and sea. It sees the great sprawling green of the Arctic tundra give way to the sapphire blue of the tropical Atlantic. It watches storms gather and dissipate far below, silent, lightning-lit spectacles in the night. It flies over the wakes of ships and the pods of whales, a silent witness to the world from above. It navigates by the sun, by the stars, and by the Earth's magnetic field, an internal compass guiding it unerringly along a path etched into its very being. This is not a journey of struggle, but one of profound trust. The tern trusts in the winds to carry it. It trusts in the oceans to provide food. It trusts in the ancient internal map that guides it from one polar summer to the next. There is no anxiety in its flight, only a calm, determined progression. It is the sky's most patient nomad. The tern's life is a lesson in the long view. It does not concern itself with the destination, for the destination is simply another version of the endless day it just left. The journey itself is the purpose. The slow, steady beat of its wings, the constant, gentle light, the vast, empty horizons. This is the tern's reality. It is a life of minimalism and motion, a serene acceptance of a path that spans the globe. So as you settle into the comfort of your bed, let your mind take flight with this serene traveler. Let go of the need to arrive anywhere quickly. Your rest tonight is not a destination, but a journey. Picture yourself as the tern, soaring on a steady, unwavering current of air. Below you, the world is a soft blur of blue and green, silent and peaceful. The air is cool and clean. The light is the perpetual soft gold of the polar sun warming your wings. There is no sound but the gentle rush of the wind, a constant, soothing whisper. Feel your thoughts becoming light, lifted on these currents. Your worries are like clouds far below, distant and intangible. You are not rushing to escape them. You are simply soaring above them in a higher, clearer and more peaceful atmosphere. With each slow, rhythmic breath, imagine a steady wing beat, carrying you deeper into the vast, open sky of sleep. You are following the sun, leaving the night behind, drifting forever in the gentle, endless light of a summer that never ends. There is no hurry. There is only the unhurried flight, the steady glide, the long, peaceful journey through the serene and starry skies of your dreams. Let the current carry you now on and on into the tranquil heart of the night. In the hidden miniature worlds that exist within a drop of water, on a patch of moss, or nestled in a grain of soil, there lives a creature of almost mythical resilience. It is known as the tardigrade, or more affectionately, the water bear. It is a tiny, eight-legged animal, barely visible to the human eye, that looks like a microscopic plump bear, padding slowly through its watery forest. But its true marvel is not in its appearance, but in its ability to perform the most profound act of surrender in the animal kingdom. A deep, cold slumber that borders on the absolute. For most of its life, the tardigrade is an active, if leisurely, little beast. It clumps through its world of moss and water, piercing plant cells or smaller creatures with a stylus in its mouth and sipping their contents. It is a picture of simple aquatic life. But when its world begins to vanish, when the pond dries up or the moss freezes solid, the tardigrade does not struggle.
It does not flee, it simply
Decides to stop. This process is a gentle biological sigh. It is called cryptobiosis, a word that means hidden life. Sensing the coming of desiccation or freezing, the tardigrade begins to retract its 8 legs, curling its body into a compact, barrel-shaped form known as a tun. It slows its metabolism, not just to a sleep, but to a state so still it is virtually undetectable. It sheds almost all the water from its body, replacing it with a special sugar, trehalose, which forms a glass-like cocoon around its delicate cellular structures, preserving them in perfect, suspended animation. In this state, the tardigrade is no longer truly alive in any active sense. Its metabolic activity drops to 0.1% of its normal rate. It does not breathe. It does not eat. It does not reproduce. It does not age. It becomes a tiny, sculpted capsule of potential life, a secret folded in on itself, waiting. And it is in this state that the tardigrade becomes a time traveler. A tun can withstand environments that would be instantaneously fatal to nearly any other organism. It can be plunged into liquid helium just 1 degree above absolute zero and survive. It can be heated to well over the boiling point of water. It can withstand pressures 6 times greater than those found in the deepest ocean trenches, and it can float, exposed to the vacuum and radiation of open space, and simply wait. For the polar tardigrades, this means being entombed in ice. They are found in the glaciers of Svalbard, in the permafrost of the Arctic, and in the frozen soils of Antarctica. When the long winter comes, they enter their tun state. They become tiny, brownish specks, frozen in place for years, for decades, perhaps even for centuries. They are like seeds of animal life, sown into the ice, waiting for the spring that may not come for 100 human lifetimes. They are not fighting the cold.
They are not enduring it. They have transcended it.
They have withdrawn so completely from the state of being alive that the concepts of cold or time have no meaning for them. They are simply present.
A biological promise frozen in time. Then one day, perhaps after a decade, a thaw comes.
Water, in its liquid form, touches the tiny barrel-shaped tun, and slowly, miraculously, the promise is fulfilled. The glassy cocoon of sugar softens. The tardigrade begins to absorb water, plumping out. Its legs, one by one, unfold. Its metabolism, like a clock that has been paused, resumes its gentle tick. Within hours, it is padding along again, as if no time has passed at all. It continues its life exactly where it left off, a sleeper awakening from a dreamless nap that spanned generations. To contemplate the tardigrade is to be humbled by the very definition of life. It shows us that the line between life and non-life is not a stark wall, but a soft, permeable curtain. It teaches that survival is not always about strength and struggle, but sometimes about the wisdom of perfect surrender. It is the art of letting go so completely that time itself loses its power. So, as you drift towards sleep tonight, let the tardigrade be your guide. You do not need to fight for your rest. You do not need to struggle against the wakefulness. You can simply surrender to it. Imagine your own consciousness drawing in its legs, curling into a perfect, compact ton of peace. Feel the noises of the world, the worries of the day, becoming like the cold and the vacuum, external forces that cannot touch the still, preserved core of you. You are entering your own cryptobiosis, a hidden life where nothing is required and time holds no sway. You are a tiny, resilient capsule of potential, resting in the deep freeze of the night. The dawn will be your thaw, the gentle touch of water that will coax you back to life. But for now, there is only the deep, cold, and perfect slumber. Let go, withdraw, and sleep as the water bears have slept for millennia, in a state of perfect, timeless peace. In the heart of the great polar ice sheets, time is not merely recorded in layers like the rings of a tree.
It is captured,
Preserved in a state of perfect suspension. For locked within the crystalline grip of the ice are tiny, perfect capsules of ancient atmosphere. Bubbles of air trapped as the snow fell and was compressed over hundreds of thousands of years. They are the frozen breath of a younger world, and their release is the softest whisper from a distant past. The journey of a single bubble begins with a snowflake. As it flutters down through the polar air, it does not fall through emptiness. It falls through an atmosphere rich with the gases of its time: carbon dioxide, methane, nitrogen, oxygen, all holding a chemical signature of the world as it was. When the snowflake settles on the great white pile, it carries this tiny pocket of its contemporary air with it. As more snow falls, the layers beneath are gently compressed. The delicate points of the snowflakes collapse and they begin their slow transformation into firn and then into solid glacial ice. During this process, the air spaces between the grains become pinched off, trapped. They become individual bubbles, tiny, glittering prisons for the atmosphere of their age. A layer of ice from 100,000 years ago holds the air of 100,000 years ago. A layer from 1,000,000 years ago holds air from a time when early humans were first learning to use fire. The ice becomes a vertical timeline, a library where the books are written in frozen gas. To see these bubbles in an ice core is to look directly into the past. They appear as countless radiant pinpricks, a galaxy of frozen memories suspended in blue-white ice. They are silent, dormant, holding their secrets under immense pressure, waiting for a change in the world to release them. That release comes with a thaw. It can be the deliberate, careful melt of a scientist in a lab, warming a segment of ice core to analyze the ancient climate. Or it can be the natural, gentle drip of a glacier's edge in the summer sun, As the ice transitions from its solid state, the structure that has held the bubble for millennia finally softens and yields. And then it happens.
A tiny fizz.
A soft, high-pitched crackle. It is one of the quietest sounds in nature. It is the sound of a bubble, once trapped for 100,000 years, finally reaching the surface of the ice and bursting. The membrane of ice and water gives way, and the ancient air is released in a minuscule puff, instantly mixing with the modern atmosphere. The event is too small to see, but if you are very close and the world is very still, you can hear it. A faint, popping sigh. This sound is a punctuation mark in a sentence that took an eternity to write. It is the sound of a long-held secret being gently exhaled. That single bubble might have been trapped when Neanderthals still walked the earth. Its release is a message from a world we can never visit, a ghost of an atmosphere that nurtured creatures and ecosystems long since turned to dust. It is a chemical memory returning to the wind. To stand near melting ancient ice and listen to this faint, sporadic crackle is to be a witness to deep time itself. It is not a dramatic event. It is subtle, humble, and profoundly moving. Each tiny pop is the end of a story that began before human history. It is the past dissolving into the present, becoming one with it again. This process is a gentle, constant reminder of the impermanence of even the most solid-seeming things. The ice that seemed so eternal is, in its own time, letting go. It is returning what it borrowed, molecule by molecule, sigh by tiny sigh. So as you lie in the quiet darkness, let your mind focus on this soft, crackling whisper. Imagine each of your thoughts, your memories, your worries from the day as a tiny bubble of air trapped in the ice of your mind. Now picture the gentle warmth of sleep beginning to thaw that ice, not violently but with a slow, steady patience. And listen in the stillness of your own consciousness for the faint, freeing crackle. With each soft, popping sound, feel a worry release its hold. A memory is soothed and integrated. A thought is let go, its energy gently dissolving back into the calm pool of your mind. One by one, these tiny pockets of mental noise are freed until the ice of your wakefulness becomes clear, still, and tranquil. You are not erasing the past. You are simply allowing it to breathe, to release its pressure, to merge peacefully with the present moment. The faint crackle of ancient air is the sound of letting go on a geological scale. Let it be the sound of your own release. Listen to the quiet pops and fizzes, the gentle unraveling of time, until your mind is as still and clear as a frozen starry lake, ready for the deep, silent sleep of the ice. And so we have come to the end of our journey to the very edge of the world and to the edge of wakefulness. We have wandered through the frozen forests of sea ice and stood in the crystal cathedrals within the glaciers. We have listened to the whale's deep lullaby and felt the patient, rhythmic pulse of the penguin huddle. We have learned from the lichen that a millimeter can be a decade, and from the tardigrade that life can sleep through eons. We have seen the silent dance of the aurora and traced the unhurried flight of the tern, forever chasing the sun. All these threads, these quiet facts now weave together into a single, profound truth. The poles are not a place of emptiness, but a place of pure being. They are the Earth's meditation, a demonstration that stillness is not a void, but a presence. That slowness is not a failure, but a different kind of wisdom. The great white expanses of the Arctic and Antarctic are a canvas where the planet paints with the simplest of brushes: ice, light, time, and silence, the frantic pace of the world, the noise, the constant demand for more and faster. It all falls away here, absorbed by the snow, muffled by the vastness. What remains is what has always been there underneath, the gentle, inexorable processes that require no audience, the slow river of ice that flows whether we watch it or not. the ancient air that waits in its frozen bubbles, the continent that sleeps under the gentle, immense pressure of its own blanket. These realms teach us the art of surrender. The seal does not fight the ice. It maintains its breathing hole and trusts in its return. The iceberg does not fight the current. It yields, and in yielding, completes its beautiful transient journey. The woolly bear caterpillar does not fight the winter. It embraces the deep freeze, knowing the sun will return. This is not passivity, but a profound and active peace, a collaboration with the forces of the world, rather than a struggle against them. And now it is your turn to surrender, to yield, to collaborate with the night. Let the qualities of the poles become the qualities of your sleep. Let your mind be a vast white plain, uncluttered and still. Let your breathing be as slow and rhythmic as the swell of the pack ice, or the gentle return of the seal to its breathing hole. Let your heartbeat settle into the patient, metronomic pace of the lichen's growth. Feel the gentle pressure of the ice sheet, not as a weight, but as a comfort, pressing you down into a deep,
isostatic slumber, cradled and supported.
Imagine the ancient frozen bubbles of your daily worries rising slowly to the surface of your consciousness and, one by one, releasing with a soft, faint crackle into the quiet of the night, their energy dissipated, their hold on you gone. You are in the pole's eternal embrace now. There is no past to regret, no future to anxiously await. There is only this deep, dark, peaceful present, lit from within by the soft, blue glow of ancient ice. The aurora dances in your dreams, silent and serene. The whale's song is the bass note of your rest. You are as patient as the caterpillar, as resilient as the water bear, as untroubled as the drifting iceberg. The journey is over. The exploration is complete. There is nothing more to learn, nothing more to do. The only task that remains is to rest, to give yourself over to the slow, steady, and eternal cycles of renewal that govern these sacred sleeping lands. So close your eyes. Let the last sight be the endless white horizon merging with the soft, dark sky. Let the last sound be the profound, ringing silence of the polar night, a silence that is not empty, but full of peace. The world will keep turning. The ice will keep flowing slowly. The stars will watch over the sleeping poles. And you now are a part of that deep, planetary rest. You are safe. You are still. You are home. Good night.